So I get asked this question quite a lot from a lot of my students. I just got a Raspberry Pi and I don't have an extra keyboard or a monitor or a HDMI cable or a mouse. How do I set it up? Well, this actually is a fairly straightforward process, and it's known as setting up your Raspberry Pi in headless mode. So you can use an existing computer or a laptop, and if you just have a Raspberry Pi, you can get it set up pretty quickly. And we'll look at the process of how easy it is to get your Raspberry Pi set up in this way. So what are you going to need? Well, first, a Raspberry Pi 3 or 4. I'm going to be doing the video with a Raspberry Pi 4, but you can use a Raspberry Pi 3 as well. You'll need, of course, a 5-volt power supply for your Pi, and a micro SD card. You can use an 8 gig, a 16 or 32 gig. 32 gig would be preferred, but 8 gig can work. And of course you need to have a micro SD card reader. That's how you're going to insert the micro SD card into your laptop or your computer, and you're able to access it and actually flash it and so on. So next, of course, you're going to need an existing laptop or desktop computer and a wireless network connection. So this is the bare minimum that you'll need to get your Raspberry Pi set up in headless mode. So what does the process look like? Let's take a quick overview of what will be involved. So first, you're going to flash your SD card with the latest version of Raspbian, and once that's done, before we actually boot it up, we'll need to create two special files on our SD card. So these files will be created at a root level, and they're called SSH and WPA_supplicant.conf. And this file is actually the wireless configuration, or I should say the configuration that you'll need to connect to a wireless network. So we'll see how to do that and walk through those steps. Next, we're going to boot up our Pi, and we have to get the IP address of our Pi. So there are many different ways that you can do this, and I'll talk a little bit about the different approaches that can be used. Next up, of course, once we have the IP address, we are going to connect via SSH, and we need to enable a few configuration settings in the Raspberry config settings tool, and those would be enabling the VNC viewer, booting to your desktop, and setting the screen resolution. So we'll walk through this process. Finally, when you get all of this done, you can reboot your Pi and use VNC viewer to connect to your Pi, and you will be in. So that's all that really is involved, and we are going to go through these steps in detail. At the bottom here is a link that can give you a step-by-step guide on how everything is done. So if you take a look at that link, here you'll get the step-by-step details on what you need to do and all the configurations that you need to make. But now we're going to walk through this process step by step.